Um, all right, fam. We're gonna wait till this comes online. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about WRCCDC and NCL, which I know for some of you has been a pretty unfriendly topic because none of the people in the club really have time to help anybody with WRCCDC or NCL. NCL is more DIY. I think that you can Google most of the processes that you need to complete the challenges. But with WRCCDC, you basically need to be trained. You need to be taught. So I'm a little disappointed that not everybody was able to show up today. But do you have any questions? Because I know Andrew was there. So do you have any questions about WRCCDC?
The one I mentioned in the group chat, which was how to feel more comfortable about starting off, and I guess it's called hardening our
Okay,
opposition.
so hardening, one of the biggest things about hardening is that you're not supposed to know everything on the spot. You're supposed to have a checklist that you go through and you do all the tasks on the checklist. This is so that you don't fuck up in the beginning. Because if you screw up in the beginning, even one of those tasks forgotten can allow the hackers an entryway through. So we write out everything beforehand, we prep a checklist, and then we give it to you. You'll feel comfortable because we're telling you what to do.
Mhm.
For those of you that don't know what WRCCDC is, NCL is a forensics challenge. So when you do NCL, you're gleaning information from logs, from emails, from the internet, and you're just trying to find out information. In WRCCDC, people are actively attacking a network that you're on, and you're supposed to protect the network. You're supposed to keep them from getting on. There's usually something like a password database or a credit card database that you have to protect, and then the hackers try to break into that and steal all your stuff. In fact, one of the really unlucky things that we had during this WRCCDC practice is the fact that they broke into our SQL database and they stole all the credit card information.
Oh,
Yeah, they did it by compromising our web app, which wasn't secure enough.
okay.
All we had to do was change
Change
the
the password.
password. Yeah, because the password was too simple, they brute forced it and they broke in. Isn't that what happened, Ellen?
Rule number one: change your passwords.
Yeah, the password was simple enough so that a dictionary attack worked. So a dictionary attack, instead of just trying random combinations, it just tries most likely passwords first. And so if you have a password that is really common, like the word password or the words change me, yeah, it's super easy to break in.
Okay.
I don't know why the stream is still offline. See, it's fucking up on me again.
What about after password changing? What's like maybe the next level after that?
WRCCDC is pretending that real users are using your stuff,
Okay.
and it's checking to see whether or not it works. Okay, the stream is finally working. So, what did I just go over? I went over how in WRCCDC, you don't actually need to know um, like a preset number of things that you're supposed to do before we go into the competition because those are all written down on a material checklist that we go through. And WRCCDC is a defense competition where you're on a network simulating a business, and hackers try to break into the network and steal your information. You might have a credit card database, or you might have a certain list of sensitive information that you're not supposed to release. And then usually have services that are hosted on your network as well, like an email server or something like that. And so all they need to do is break in and then steal all your stuff or keep it from working and you'll lose. So in the competition, it's very, very important to, first of all, secure whatever it is that they can steal. And it's usually this one sensitive database. So that's the format of WRCCDC. I want everybody to be aware of this. If you're on WRCCDC, there's only one or two things that you ever need to protect. You secure everything else so that there's no entryways into that system. Um, Another thing is you have to keep your services running. So if they DDoS your email server, what are you going to do? You're going to try to install software that filters out bogus requests so that they can no longer crash the email server, so that it works again. Because in WRCCDC, they constantly check service uptime. If your network is supposed to host a service and the service is not running, then you lose points. So checklist, we talked about the checklist, we talked about service uptime, we talked about protecting the database. When you're hosting the network, you're going to have a list of users, verified users, that are supposed to be legit people using your network. For example, let's say you're Bank of America, right? You have people that use your banking service. There are legitimate customers, and then there are people who are trying to perform malicious behaviors. So you have to make sure that you allow the customers access to your services without letting them compromise the rest of the stuff. You normally want to install programs that keep them from doing things they're not supposed to do, like programs that sanitize inputs so that they can't put strings into your SQL and get it to perform weird actions.
Do we have access to the files for the web apps and?
Yeah, they're on the computers. So the thing about WRCCDC is you're not shown the network until the day of the competition. And then you get in, they hand it off to you, and they say, here you go, you're on your own. And you have to figure out how the network works while securing it. That's one of the scary things about WRCCDC. One of the worst things about WRCCDC is when you get to the actual competition that is not hosted on the VMs, not hosted online. When you get to the material competition, there's going to be material network all around you. There's going to be like an actual firewall box. There's going to be actual computers. And you need to go from device to device and enumerate what's on your network. Because last time, Alan, do you remember the last time we did WRCCDC? They kept like 9 VMs on that server rack that we had in the middle of the table.
Around 9 VMs that we didn't even know about.
Yeah, there were 9 VMs that didn't show up on the network because these were not material machines. So we needed to, since they were still connected to our network and still managing services, we needed to keep these up, but we didn't even know they existed. So that's the thing to watch out for next time is normally when they give you a topology, they don't tell you what it is. You have to figure it out. You have to figure out what machine hosts what. Like we weren't told which machine was holding the web server that had all the password information and all the credit card information on it during the WRCCDC practice. It just got hacked, and then we lost all of the stuff because we didn't know where it was held. Otherwise, we would have secured it.
Basically, what happened was you walk into the competition room, you look at your table, there's 9 different computers, and I don't know which one is hosting what.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And you turn them on, and then you hope to God that the boot screen says what it is. And then after that, you get on, and you frantically change passwords, and you hope everything is like tight enough to where they don't instantly compromise it when they get online. And throughout the rest of the competition, which lasts about 2 days, you'll be trying to secure it as much as possible and protect all the information and keep your services running most of all. Because after they've already stolen your information, they don't need to focus on breaking in anymore. They can just play around and try to get your services down. That's how you lose the most points. One of the other things about WRCCDC was the injects. I really wanted to talk about that because our school's weaker point is injects. And there are 3 kinds of injects. So since WRCCDC is supposed to mock a legitimate business setting, your employer will send you emails, and they have different tasks on them. These tasks you're supposed to perform for a set number of points. There are 3 main kinds of tasks that they'll ask you to perform. One is you you get a log on your computer, or you get a file on your computer and you parse it. You get an MD5 sum, or you get some sort of information from that file from or a group of computers, and then you put it in an email and send it to the employer so that they can know the status of their own network. The second kind of challenge is where they have you install something and then you write a report on what you just installed. And the installation will usually involve some sort of software security device that will improve the network, or it's something really difficult to install to test whether or not you can install it. But one of the most important things about WRCC-DC is that you can actually get points for saying, this is impossible, we cannot do it. So if an inject seems too difficult, then you can just email to the employer, sorry guys, we're not going to do it this time around.
But here's this alternative.
Yeah, but here's an alternative. So you can install an alternative solution, or you can install nothing at all, but you have to make up an excuse for why you can't. Because that's how a legitimate business setting would work. Okay, so the last of the three is they have you explain a new business proposition. So they have a product such as, what did they want us to install last? Well, it wasn't install. They asked us what new hardware that we wanted to buy so that they could budget us as a department. So you have to pretend you knew what you're talking about, and then you have to come up with all these business solutions for your network. Okay, so that being said, all those three challenges are where the bulk of the points lie, because that's 1/3 of the points in WRCC-DC. Any questions so far?
Is there an uptime or a downtime to, like, at the start when they say go?
At the very start, red team does not start the instant you start. There's like a 15 to an hour delay. Yeah, they used to, but they don't anymore because the weak default passwords made it so that if red team got in right away, you'd have to kick them out, and college students apparently did not know how to do that. So one of the things that is important to remember about WRCC-DC is that since you have that head start, you have that little lead, it's more important to keep them out than to try to detect when they're already in the system. You have to try to make the ship watertight. If they get in and they destroy stuff, it's already too late. You have to try and keep them out. Are any of you three thinking about trying out for WRCC-DC?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm saying right now has great relevance to you because you're getting knowledge about the competition that you normally don't have going in.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So during WRCC-DC, like for like some reason you're really good at like just like what you do, and you're able to like I guess do something to like the red team, I guess.
Oh, the red team is out of scope. You're not allowed to offensively attack.
Oh, you're not.
Yeah, you can't use computer resources on the network to attack the attackers. That is off the competition rules. And if they catch you doing that, they might disqualify our team. And that is very bad. Now, another one of the things about WRCC-DC is that everybody will be given an individual task. Everybody is supposed to specialize. So once you have that area of specialty, not only are you supposed to do that task and be the de facto like man that everybody goes to when they need that certain thing done, you're supposed to have a cursory knowledge of everything else so that you don't ruin everything. Because, for example, last competition, the guy operating our firewall firewalled off all our services. And when he did that, all of the services broke and we got downtime on all of them. And we placed like two places lower out of the 12th place ranking because we had that like half an hour of downtime. We could have been third. We could have beat Berkeley. Okay, so when you come to the practices, when you come to general cybersecurity meetings, Bradley and the rest of the board will find out what you're good at and they will assign you to a certain task, a certain relevancy that you're supposed to specialize in and get very good at. The only problem is the competition is happening winter quarter, so we don't have that much time to brush up. So you need to talk with people who are already on the team and try to help, like get them to help you. And that's why I'm here hosting this workshop. I realized that people weren't showing up for like actual learning, so we're just gonna go over the competitions now for the rest of the time.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So like for this recent like CCD WRCCDC competition I had like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
So like that team were they like already like had basic knowledge or did they actually go in without any knowing a lot of things?
The funny thing is, Andrew and Kim here, they didn't know anything going in. So we taught them on the fly. But that is not supposed to happen. I'm pretty sure that's why we did worse than we were supposed to.
Because we went through worse.
Yeah.
So we know what you should do.
Yeah, honestly, the first time we did it, we went through trial by fire, huh? We just barely scraped through. We displaced UCI so that we could go to the competition. If we didn't displace them, we wouldn't have gone. I hear they're pretty salty over there about us.
No way.
Yeah, so you will actually have to have knowledge going in for us to place, but when the practice happened, you didn't need any knowledge. Just make sure that when we go to the actual competition, you know what the hell you're doing. Are you guys here for cybersecurity?
No.
Um,
Room reserved?
yes, it is. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we'll teach you on the fly. That's what the practices are for. The practices have no consequence on our placement in the actual competition. But when the qualifier comes up, we will need our best people on the team in order to place inside. If we don't qualify, then we don't go to the competition.
When is the qualifier?
What's that?
When is the qualifier?
Alan, when is the qualifier?
Qualifier is, for us it was early in January.
Yeah, the thing is they shift around the times. The times aren't solid and they don't announce them until later.
And then
That's why Bradley didn't know until a few days beforehand.
And then actual competition is like in March. So.
Yeah, these times aren't set in stone. I think that the schools negotiate with the
I mean, they didn't even get the invitation for the November one until the last minute.
yeah, I think the schools negotiate with the staff that run WRCCDC and try to stall the competition for as long as possible so that everybody has more time to prepare. Because we take in a lot of new people at the beginning of the year, and unless they improve, the hackers will crush them. So, you people who are here for WCCDC now are very lucky because you have time in the practices to fuck up and get better. If you aren't showing up to the practices, then you probably won't be drafted onto the team. What's up?
So like what's the various roles on this typical team?
What do you mean by rules?
Roles.
Okay, so usually there's one guy that manages all the incoming traffic from the World Wide Web. And then there's one guy that manages all the computers in the server group and their logins. And then after that, each person does an individual role on each computer. So I know there was central monitoring. Like our school is really big on central monitoring. So there's a program that watches all the logs. Are you guys here for cybersecurity?
Yes.
Don't come half an hour late. Okay. Where was I? So our school is really big on central monitoring and making sure that if there's an intrusion, it's detected right away and we're told about it. And so there's a guy that's in charge of installing all that stuff on everybody's computer, which means there are times when you'll get kicked off your computer for an expert to come in and do his job. If you showed up to the last WRCCDC, you'll notice that there were times where you couldn't use your own workstation because somebody else needed to install something on it. Isn't that right, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, you need to be able to finish what you're doing quickly and then drop it. Any other questions?
Where can we start? Like, what kind of
Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of reading to be done for this topic. Do as much NCL as possible because it will help you get better at general cybersecurity. Come to my workshops and we'll talk about this. But right now, I don't think there's any way that we can show you how to improve other than bringing you to the WRCC DC practices. Because I don't have a lot of equipment, I don't have a lot of funds, and I can't set up a lab for you guys to experiment in. The stark reality is the only learning we have is when they give it to us.
When's the next practice?
That also has not been announced. So ask Bradley.
Will it be before the end of the year? Before qualifiers?
It will be before qualifiers, without a doubt.
And
There's 3 practices before qualifiers, and then there's the qualifiers themselves. And then after that, I think there's one more practice, and then there's the competition.
the practices are all hosted by the WRCCDC?
Yeah, the practices are hosted by the same organization that runs the actual competition. Are you guys doing NCL?
NCL? What is that?
Okay, so have you ever shown up to a workshop before?
No.
Have you ever shown up to a general meeting before?
No.
Okay. I'll talk to you after the workshop ends, so that I can get you up to speed. So, are there any more questions about WRCCDC in pertinence to specialties and jobs?
Actually, I have a question. Are scripts allowed?
Scripts are during the practices, scripts are allowed, but the thing is, they're not allowed during the actual competition. So if you rely on scripts and you run automated security scripts to break everything or fix everything, it's not going to help during the actual competition. So we don't use scripts here as a school because we don't learn anything.
I don't know if they're going to be allowed this time around, but it should always run under the assumption that they're not allowed. But again, you can always bring in hard copies, so you can actually write.
Yeah, you can bring in hard copies. You can write the code by hand, bring it in, and then type it out.
No, you can print it out as well.
Yeah. So if you feel dedicated enough to write a script on paper or print out a script and then bring it and then type it in letter by letter, more power to you. But if you have the ability to do that, then you probably already have the ability to script, right? I don't know why you would need that.
Yeah, the downside is you're going to face lots of systems with lots of configurations, so what you write might not actually work.
Yeah. That's why during the first workshop, I made a really big deal out of using the command compgen-ac divider grep and then your search string. So it allows you to find whether or not there's a requisite package or material on your computer needed to perform an action. If you don't have, for example, a package unzipper on the computer, then you won't be able to do installations that require unzipping. As for how you guys get your specialties, honestly, when the general meetings come around, you'll ask Bradley, and he'll probably tell you a list of things that we need done in the server group. And that's when it's your choice to choose one to get good at. But be warned, everything left is pretty hard. I mean, actually, no, I lie. Everything is always hard in WRCCDC. One of the things in WRCCDC that you have to go into with is a defeatist attitude, because you will lose eventually. It's a matter of how long you last.
The team always wins. That's the
Red team always wins.
we learned that WRCC people, organizers will say that red team always wins.
Yeah.
So just don't.
Red team always wins. It's a matter of how long you survive, how long you're able to keep them out, and whether or not you can remove persistent threats that they've put on your computer. During the second workshop, I talked about malware and persistent threats. That's going to be a really big theme in WRCCDC, because when you're working with a work group of machines, persistence is the largest way that they continue to fuck with your computer after you've cleaned it up. Okay, so I will try to talk with Bradley about getting positions that are friendlier to people who are just entering the team. Getting specialties that are friendlier to people that are just entering the team. But at the same time, you guys need to show up on Friday. You need to talk to Bradley, and you need to see whether or not you can get a role. Okay? And you need to see whether or not you like the role. So come and talk to me or message me on Facebook if you would like to know more about the role that you have been asked whether or not you want. Okay. If we're done with WRCCDC, any more questions?
Can we like have a practice like us like hackers versus defenders and fight?
Not a lot of people in this school know offensive hacking yet. I think that Alan is the only one that's super good at it. I think that
He'll take us all
Bradley
down.
can do it.
Yeah,
So-
isn't that better?
Yeah, me and Bradley.
Yeah, Alan and Bradley are the only two offensive hackers. It might sound fun, but the truth is, it's not going to be that useful.
WFCC is straight up defense.
Yeah, WRCCDC and NCL are both defensive competitions because forensics is you only do forensics after somebody has messed with you. You only defend when somebody is messing with you. These are not offensive procedures. We don't learn offensive procedures until CTF, which comes later this year. Capture the flag.
Really?
Yeah, we learn offensive then.
What's that?
They have a data flag that you're supposed to strip off another guy's network.
So, for example, something like a CTF would be you have a little tiny, let's say, 4-character word that's implanted inside a program on a specific computer on the network. And what you want to do is you try to find a hole to break into that computer and then get that program and then try to find that 4-letter word. That's something like that would be CTF. Or maybe they have an encrypted packet flying around on the network. You want your job would then be to use
Yeah,
to
so
capture that.
you have to find the abnormal data, and then you have to decrypt it, and then after it's decrypted, then you submit it, and that's when you win.
That's some of the stuff that they run at DEFCON. So they actually have a lot more information on DEFCON. What they do at CTF.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that later in the year. We'll be doing some capture the flag. And so you'll learn offensive hacking then, but you won't be a student anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just doing this for fun, right?
To learn.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you're creating hardware, because I see you're in IEEE, when you're creating hardware, the most important thing you can do is defensive, because the hardware is not going to protect itself after you sell it to somebody else unless you protect it before you give it away. Yeah, so defensive is your best bet.
So, SCADA. You always want security and also security when you're doing SCADA. Otherwise, you end up like Ukraine, having their whole entire power network shut down by Russia.
Yeah, you really want your hardware to have security. That's just one example of why this is a growing field and this is important for
Everything.
everything. Because as everything increasingly gets more and more connected, you have more and more security holes that people can screw with. Okay, so now we're going to talk about NCL. If there's no more questions on WRCCDC.
I actually have one last question.
Yeah, what's up?
So wouldn't it actually be helpful, like, if there was like a practice session, like just with like here, like just to see if they like what vulnerabilities are left after we thought we've like completely did all the roles that we're supposed to do.
If we've gone through the entire checklist and there are still vulnerabilities on the computer, then the truth is none of us know what to do.
After that, they released the practice environment.
I believe they've released training environments, but there's no topology that you can actually practice on.
So they still haven't done the same thing as last year, which was NetLab.
Yeah, they have NetLab, but it has machines that you're not meant to compromise.
I don't know, I'm not going to practice.
I'd have to look more into that for you, because I don't know at the moment. Oh, it's going to be a sad day when you leave, Ellen.
There's always someone else around.
Not anybody at your level yet.
It's your guys' job to find them.
Yeah. It's our job to improve. So we're going to talk about NCL now. So you guys might have done the NCL qualifier, and I reckon you didn't get too far. But one of the most important things in the NCL qualifier was that you noticed there were varied challenges. There were different fields of study in cybersecurity and cyber forensics that you could do. In NCL, there's going to be a bit of offensive hacking, but that's only during the actual competition. So in NCL, you're supposed to do whatever you're good at so you can get the most points possible. So you, and you are doing NCL, right? Are you doing NCL? See me with them after the workshop, so I can get you up to speed. So
Oh, postseason is like ending also on Friday, right? Registration
um,
for teams, but like there's not really much for
the registration for teams is only applicable if you're actually
that. In
already enrolled.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about this at this general meeting. We'll talk about teams. We'll talk about who we're getting with. I think it's just going to be whoever you're friends with, your teams with. So all of you are going to be on my team, right? Because you're all my friends in the workshop. Okay. That's good to hear. We'll work well together. We really will. Because I'm very proud of you for showing up to the workshop. It shows that you're driven. Especially repeat customers here.
What are we doing in the team NCL?
There, I have never done a team challenge for NCL. So all I can tell you is that there's going to be a set of questions that you have to answer, and there's going to be a big set of data, and there's going to be a network, and there's going to be lots of services that are hosted, and you perform challenges using that big data, the server, and all of the services hosted. So I remember last year when we were doing, I think it was spring training, they had us do web app exploitation. So you had to break into a web app, and you had to get it to authenticate you falsely. Yeah. So that's just one example of the offensive hacking that we'll be doing in NCL. But there's still a lot of forensic stuff that we will also be doing. So for right now, all of the stuff that we've done in NCL so far has been forensic. It's been look through this data and find what has happened on the server. I want you guys to get good as possible at that, because when you get into your teams, there will only be several things that everybody can do, and it's really important to get all the points you can from the easiest stuff that you already know. As far as app exploitation goes and breaking into stuff and unsalting passwords and stuff like that, we'll all learn that as time goes on. Just a preface to this, Bradley, Calvin, basically every member of the board didn't know what the hell they were doing except Alan until we actually did it. So we learned everything on the fly. You guys can learn too. It just takes a little time. And the advantage that you guys have is that we're already here, we know it, and we're going to teach you. Any questions about the NCL challenges that you guys have done so far?
How long do we have to do to go on to the next stage?
See, as long as you're in the same bracket, you can form a team. And when you form a team and compete, it's not about moving on; it's about how well you place.
So
Because you get moved on no matter what. Have you noticed even people who only finished one question? We told people to finish one question, and that put you at the bottom of the bronze bracket. But you're still in the competition. You still move forward. So there's no cutoff line for whether or not you move on. It's a matter of how well you do.
So did we get anything from the last one? If we did well.
Yeah, you get put in a higher bracket. That's all. The higher you rank, because NCL is really special. I like it a lot. What it does is when you finish all your challenges, it sends your score directly to employers. So if you're placing like top 20%, I guarantee you employers are going to be like, wow, What the hell? All you have to know is how to look through stuff, how to Google stuff, and how to break stuff. It's pretty fun. But at the same time, you want to get a good team that can help you figure things out. Okay, so should I go over some typical things that we'll be seeing in NCL?
For teams or just individual?
Well, yeah, because the individual challenges are going to continue on. This isn't the last you've seen of the individual challenges.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is only one in done.
No. There's supposed to be two, I think. Isn't there? Supposed to be two individual challenges for NCL.
I don't know anything about it.
Isn't it this week? Is it this week? I think so.
Tell you what, I'll ask Bradley.
Because I got an email about like postseason registrations.
And it's the registration, and also I think the second individual is this week.
Oh yeah, it closes Friday. Postseason game registration closes Friday.
Okay, so tell you what, all of you sign up for that tonight, and we'll all hammer through it. We'll find another day to sit down and eat donuts and feel really really sick for waking up super early on a Saturday morning.
Well, I think this is for teams though, isn't it?
I'll have to take a look at it myself. I haven't looked at a bunch of this stuff.
Do you mind us like put it on Facebook or like Slack?
Yeah, if you'd like, post it on Facebook or Slack. One of the things about clubs in general is that I think the first years they flood the clubs the first 3 weeks. And then they say, oh my God, I'm going to get so involved. And then by week 5, they're not like showing up. They're not showing up. And by week 8, they're like, okay, I've given up. I'm not doing extracurriculars this quarter. And they say this quarter, but then they rush again and then repeat the same thing over and over until you get to the second year.
We finally discovered this way as well.
And the second individual rounds on Saturday.
Hey, I was only in one club at a time, bro.
Oh. Okay. So
I put my all into
Registration-
what I'm involved in. That's why I'm leading
I
this
think
workshop.
The team registration is
I've been
Black
here
Friday.
for
It is Friday.
7 years, and this is what we do every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know what this is.
Are you guys first years?
No, it's like
Oh, yeah? Damn, you should have shown up earlier then. You would have been more qualified for this. What am I thinking about right now? NCL individual challenges. So there's going to be a lot of log parsing, as you've already seen, and they're going to be in all different formats. I want you guys to get good at looking through the logs and using online tools and word processors to find the information that you want out of them. Because over and over and over, you're going to see that these challenges can be completed with very simple methods. It just takes a little time and a little creativity. There's also going to be password and hash cracking, but the hashes are going to be a lot more difficult. The dictionaries are going to be a lot more difficult. Do you guys remember the password challenge where it told you to find passwords that were named after Pokemon names, and then they had a number hash after the end? Well, you have to create a password list using, you have to create a password dictionary using the Pokemon word list. And then after you've created a word list using Pokemon names, then you have to do a mask attack where it guesses all the numbers until it finds the right combination that produces the hash that you want.
And do you throw that in the software, like Jack?
Yeah, Jack the Ripper and Offcrack and Hashcat. Yeah, Hashcat is the most useful for mask attacks.
10 minutes to go through it.
Yeah, all of this can be found on YouTube. So YouTube's your best friend, your best resource for learning how to use these tools. Where am I? So we went over logs, we went over passwords. There's going to be web app exploitation. There's going to be, you guys remember having to find the EXIF data of the image?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
almost definitely going to be a challenge
Wasn't
again.
that like just like look online for one of those like
EXIF data viewers?
yeah.
I just right click and
Um,
Yeah, but then it doesn't organize the information for you.
oh, property.
Well, yeah. Okay. It organizes all the information for you. I lied. So if you inspect the properties, then it will give you all the object properties and show you all the exit data.
That's the only good thing about it.
Yeah, dude, my Windows couldn't even recognize like each device property when I was looking for.
Certificates.
No, I was looking for a Bluetooth device to hook up to my computer, and in the computer lab, there are around 50 Bluetooth devices all around the area. But Windows doesn't tell you which is which, so you have to connect to them individually and find out. So I just gave up. As far as security certificates go, yeah, you're going to need to know a little bit of online forensic information. So how computers communicate through each other through HTTP and all that other stuff is going to be important in NCL. So read up a little bit on it and then figure out how these computers talk to each other, because that will allow you to figure out these challenges. If you wanted required reading, then there's your required reading. There's going to be server communicate. There's going to be wireless communication again. So Wireshark is required for those, and you need to be able to open up the packets and figure out what is inside them. And there's usually going to be information flags that you have to nab, and then sometimes you need to decode them. You guys are going to need to know cryptography as well. Basic cryptography. But Rumkin can solve all your cryptography needs. All you need to know is how to recognize what you're looking at. So if you're looking at a hexadecimal encoded number, you need to recognize that it's hexadecimal to be able to plug it into the Rumkin decoder. What else? I think that's all, guys. So if you have any questions, message me on Facebook or ask them now. But if not, then this workshop's over. And I'd like to see the three of you that I need to help you catch up. Okay?